What if the last few years of your life could actually be your most impactful? Well, today we're going to dig into the final chapter of a true legend, Charlie Munger, to see if we can uncover his blueprint for a life lived with purpose. Right up to the very end. Let's dive in. It's a question we all probably think about. Are we supposed to slow down as we get older, or is there another way? For Charlie Munger, who passed away just shy of his 100th birthday, the answer was, well, anything but conventional. For the people who knew him, his final years weren't some quiet fade-out. No, they were a masterclass in living life to the absolute fullest. And this period, it offers lessons not just for investors, but really for anyone who wants to age with energy, purpose, and a mind that's still razor-sharp. So what's in this blueprint anyway? It's not one single secret, that's for sure. It's really a set of core principles that Munger lived by day in and day out. And it all kicks off with a really powerful insight from one of the people closest to him. This right here, this is the foundation for everything else. For Munger, life wasn't about retiring, it was about re-engaging. His mind was like this perpetual motion machine, always curious, always running. And this wasn't just a habit, you guys. This was his core programming. And that core programming brings us right to the first pillar of his blueprint, being a perpetual student. See, Munger's real genius wasn't just that he was brilliant. It was his relentless dedication to learning something new every single day. He totally got that knowledge compounds, just like money in the bank. Small lessons learned early and often they build on each other to create this massive foundation for huge success later on. And the perfect example of this? A small candy company he and Warren Buffett bought decades ago. Now pay attention to how he frames that. He doesn't say it was their best financial deal. He calls it their best learning experience. See's Candy taught them an absolutely priceless lesson about the power of a strong brand. People will gladly pay a little more for something they know, trust, and love. And look, this wasn't just some random one-off lesson. It became a powerful new tool in their mental toolbox, a key that was going to unlock a much, much bigger opportunity down the road. And boom, there it is, the billion-dollar payoff. The insight they got from a simple candy company gave them the confidence to make a massive bet on Coca-Cola, one of the greatest investments in history. That, my friends, is the compounding power of knowledge in action. So let's give this a name. We'll call it cumulative wisdom. It's the Munger principle that you don't just have experiences, you squeeze every drop of learning out of them, and then you carry those lessons forward. Every piece of knowledge becomes a tool you can use for the rest of your life. Okay, this idea of cumulative wisdom leads us directly to the second pillar of the blueprint, betting against the crowd. Because when you're armed with a lifetime of learning, you're not so afraid to go where other people won't, even at 99 years old. I mean, think about it. It's 2023. The whole world is pushing for green energy. Investing in coal? It seemed like investing in horse and buggies. The market had completely written it off as a dead industry. But Munger saw something else entirely. Huh? With that classic Munger bluntness, he just dismissed the whole popular narrative. He knew that global energy demand was still climbing, and coal was going to be needed to meet that demand. So while everyone else saw a dying industry, he saw a hidden gem. And the result? A massive payoff of over $50 million in paper gains. Now, this wasn't just him being stubborn. This was pure, calculated rationality, a skill he had spent decades perfecting by just ignoring the noise of the market. And this simple analogy, this was his guide. Don't chase the crowd, go where the value is. In the case of coal, he saw a pond that was packed with fish that everybody else had decided to just abandon. But, Munger's blueprint wasn't just about stocks and bonds. The third, and maybe the most important pillar, was his deep, deep commitment to investing in people. Just look at this comparison for a second. On the surface, what could these two possibly have in common? You've got a titan of industry on one side, and on the other, his young neighbor who is really struggling in school. But Munger saw potential where other people might have just seen a problem. And his approach to mentoring was so simple, it was brilliant. He didn't just throw money at the situation. He offered his most valuable asset, his time. He listened, he shared his core principles, and in classic Munger style, he gave him books to expand his mind. So what was the return on that investment of time? Well, that struggling student, Avi Meyer, he co-founded a real estate company that now has holdings worth around $3 billion. And Munger stayed involved right up until the end, proving that sometimes the greatest returns come from empowering other people. And believe me, this wasn't just a one-off thing. Munger lived by this idea, actively building new relationships. It just goes to show you that his investment in people wasn't just some nice gesture. It was a fundamental part of how he lived a rich and meaningful life. So when you put all these pieces together, the learning, the contrarian thinking, investing in others, what's the ultimate takeaway? What does it all really add up to? I think the key thing to remember is this. There's no magic bullet here. The Munger blueprint isn't a secret formula you can just copy. It's a lifelong commitment to a process of continuous learning, independent thinking, and deep engagement with the world around you. And in the end, it really all boils down to this single, powerful idea. For Charlie Munger, life wasn't about getting to some final destination of knowledge. No, it was about embracing the journey of learning every single day for as long as he possibly could. Which really leaves us with a pretty simple but powerful question for ourselves. Munger's blueprint shows us that the most valuable asset we have is our ability to learn. So, inspired by his example, the only question that really matters is, what are you going to learn next?